Hey, and welcome to the Sunday special. We have on as our guest this week, John Stossel. You know him from Fox News and Stossel TV and all of his investigative reporting. We're going to get into libertarianism and small government and regulations and all the rest of it in just 1 second. But first, we're going to talk about your sleep quality. So, there's nobody on the planet like you. Why would you buy a generic mattress built for somebody else? Helix Sleep built a sleep quiz. It takes 2 minutes to complete. They use the answers to match your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress. Whether you're a side sleeper or a hot sleeper, whether you like a plush or firm bed, with Helix, there's no more guessing and no more confusion. All you have to do is go to helixsleep.com/BenGuest, because I have a guest, and take their 2-minute sleep quiz.
That's me.
And they will match you to a mattress that'll give you the best sleep of your life. For couples, Helix can even split that mattress down the middle, providing individual support needs and feel preferences for each side. They have a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. So what are you waiting for? Right now, Helix is offering up to $125 off all mattress orders. Again, up to $125 off at helixsleep.com/BenGuest. The mattresses really are great. My wife and I have one in our room. We did the 2-minute sleep quiz. It came in the mail. We unwrapped it, and it inflates right in front of you. You put it on the bed. You're good to go. I got one for my sister for her wedding. The Helix Sleep Special. Right now, helixsleep.com/BenGuest. Get $125 off your mattress order. Again, that's helixsleep.com/BenGuest. Go check it out right now. helixsleep.com/BenGuest. All right, John, thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Good to be here.
So let's start, for people who may not know your background. You started off as a reporter, and now you're seen as both a reporter and sort of a libertarian commentator. How did you come to your political viewpoint, and how did your career progress in this direction?
I graduated college, and like a lot of young people, I thought capitalism was okay. It brings us some stuff, but it's cruel and unfair. And I went to every job interview I could, and the longest free trip was to Portland, Oregon, where I ended up in the TV newsroom. I'd never watched TV news. I got my worst grades in English. I was just taking a year off before going to grad school in hospital management. I thought if I worked, I would learn to appreciate school more. The opposite happened. I appreciate work more because you don't feel guilty about not having done all the reading, and they pay you. And so I kept working in the newsroom. I never intended to go in the air. I'm a stutterer. But they pushed me, and I eventually overcame the stuttering. And I became, to avoid competing with people like you who talk fast, I just wanted to cover something that other people weren't covering. So at the time, all people did was politics, the weather, crime, disasters. That was new. I thought, there's consumer issues out there, psychology, medicine, companies ripping people off. I'll do that. And I did that and won 19 Emmy Awards bashing business. But I gradually watched the regulation that I was calling for and often getting. Sometimes politicians would say, that was great, we're going to pass a law and fix that in Oregon. They created a Department of Consumer Affairs. But then I'd go back and do the same story. We'd send a TV set out to 20 repair shops. 18 with a loose part. 18 would say, oh, loose part, no charge. 2 would rip us off. Go back. Did you ever do this? Oh, no. Yeah, well, watch this. Play the videotape. And it was great television, bashing business. But and then so we do it again. Now there's a Department of Consumer Affairs. The results are the same. Most people are honest. A few cheat. So what's the Department of Consumer Affairs doing? They have a big, dreary room with a bunch of dreary people at desks filling out forms. Now you have to get a license for your TV. And supposedly that will screen out the bad things. But it doesn't. It just lets in the ones who are sophisticated enough to know how to get the license. The immigrant maybe works under beyond the law in the black market. Everybody has to pay a few pennies more to pay for the lawyers, and consumers no better off. So I started reading more. I didn't love the conservative press because it looked like your people wanted to police the bedroom and police the rest of the world, and I didn't like that. And I discovered Reason magazine, and that was an epiphany. Oh my God, these people get it better than I do. And I became a libertarian.
Let's talk about your brand of libertarianism. So there are a bunch of kind of different subsets of libertarianism, ranging from Gary Johnson, who's not really a libertarian, to other folks who seem significantly more hands-off when it comes to regulations. For example, what is your view on when regulation is important or necessary? Are there situations where you think regulation is something that needs to happen?
Yes. I think the Constitution had part of it right. We need rule of law. The worst places to live is the African country where there's no rule of law, and you're afraid to build a factory because your neighbor may just steal what you make, or the dictator may take the whole factory. So we need cops and a national defense, stuff that's in the Constitution. I go one further and say we need government for pollution control rules. Some libertarians would say, well, I can sue you if your smoke pollutes my air, but our legal system is so cumbersome that's not practical. So thank God for the EPA. The air and the water have gotten cleaner. And beyond that, just about nothing.
Okay, so let's talk about the taxation regime. So a lot of folks who are in libertarian circles are deeply concerned about the morality of taxes. I consider myself basically libertarian myself when it comes to the involvement of government, and I'm very sympathetic to the argument that taxation is generally theft. That when somebody puts a gun in your face and then says you need to give me your money for a purpose that I see fit, that is a form of theft. But when is taxation not theft? Is there a moral line that we can draw? Because obviously the government does have to provide certain services that you talked about. If you're talking about the government providing safety for your property, you need a police force. If you're talking about the government providing safety from foreign invasion, you need defense department. Is that sort of taxation theft? And how do you distinguish between what's theft and what's not?
I don't think about it much, but I would say no. If I am a member of this country and this country needs national defense, which it does, and a local police force and pollution control rules, government has to raise that money somehow. And that's not theft. That's just the deal.
And one of the questions that often comes up in this context is, so how far does that go? So very often what you hear from folks on the left is the you didn't build that thing that you got from Barack Obama or Elizabeth Warren, that because the government provides roads, for example, and rule of law, that you didn't build that, the government really built it, the government contributed to your success. How true is that? And, do we need things like government-provided roads and post offices?
No, we certainly don't need government post offices.
Right, well, that's pretty obvious, yeah.
UPS and FedEx. It was interesting that the government could not get it there overnight. And then FedEx did, and now even UPS sometimes does. If the private sector was building roads, they would have more roads, they'd be smoother, they would be better. It's become a role for government, and it would be better if they contracted it out. Not that people in government aren't necessarily just as bright, but the incentives are different. You can fire the private road builder if you don't like what he did. If he's great, he makes more money. In government, everybody gets paid the same, and it's almost impossible to fire somebody. So even if they're great at the beginning, say when the Peace Corps began, eager people looking to help people. 10 years later, when nobody can be promoted or fired, that just eats away at your wish to do better.
So one of the questions folks have about libertarianism very often, this is usually the key question used to quote-unquote debunk it, is the what do you do about the folks who fall through the cracks argument? So libertarianism is
fear in general that I kind of noticed the trend.
And I want to talk to you a lot about the book. I want to start by laying out sort of your life story. How did you get here? Because a lot of people have seen you on The Five, obviously, and a lot of people know you from your work in a variety of media, including, obviously, in the book area. But how did you get here in the first place? How did you go from a guy who was writing comedy to a guy who's now on Fox News every day?
It's really weird because I wasn't a comedy writer. I started at the American Spectator as a staff assistant in the late 80s. But I was a fitness editor at Prevention Magazine, which was the world's largest health magazine, no longer exists. I jumped to Men's Health and I became the editor of Men's Health. I was their creative director. So I'm a magazine guy. People think that I'm like a comedian, but I've never done stand-up. I never called myself one because I think that if you're a comedian has to perform. And I don't stand up in front of people, so I would never call myself that. And also I have comedians on my show, and in deference to them and out of respect to what they do, of getting heckled and doing 5 sets a night, I'm not a comedian. So I was a writer. And for Men's Health, I went to Stuff Magazine in America and did that and got fired over something. And then you can look up that. It involves little people. And then they kicked me out, and I lived in LA for a while and became their director of brand development for Dennis Publishing. And then from there, I became editor-in-chief of Maxim UK in London. And that was when magazines were dying, especially men's magazines. I hopped on that dying horse and drove it right into the ground. And then I was kind of like, not unemployed, but I got a contract to write a book about England. And I was living there, and I had been writing this is how I got here. This is the strangest thing. It has nothing to do with anything that I've done. It has to do with pure luck. Matt Labash, Weekend Standard, emails me and says, hey, Ariana Huffington, you know her? And I go, yeah, she's starting a blog with this other guy, Andrew Breitbart, and whatever. And they asked me to do it, and I can't. Crystal won't let me. Do you want to do it? And I go, yeah, sure. So I email Ariana, and she says, oh yeah, it's this thing, whatever. Write whatever you want. Of course, we don't pay you. And I'm in London. I'm like 8 hours ahead. I can't remember, from California. So I just start writing stupid stuff. I wrote a recipe for lemon squares, and I wrote a lost and found thing for every name at the Huffington Post, like things that they've lost. And I would just send them, and I didn't realize that they showed up first because I was way ahead, and they got the most attention because I was not a liberal. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't progressive, and I was making fun of them. Mm-hmm. And that's how I met Breitbart, because Andrew would call me up and go, Greg, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't say that about Ariana. And then 5 minutes later, he'd call me back and he goes, I apologize for saying that. Say whatever the hell you want. And we became fast friends, and I think he was the one who told the Fox people in L.A. about me. And those guys emailed one dude in London, and I met a guy for a drink at a bar, and the next thing you know, I was flown over to New York. I met John Moody, I met Roger Ailes, and it happened like that. They made me a contributor, and then I sat down in a meeting. I flew in. My wife and I moved. We got a hotel, and I sat across from John Moody with the expectation that whatever I was doing, which later became Red Eye, would take a year or 6 months. You feel it out, whatever. And he just goes, okay, so we're going to start tomorrow. We're just going to do shows. All right. And they're like, do you have any friends that guests? I'm like, what? And he goes, and it's like, and they go, and like they didn't have any staff. It was just me. And I'm like, what? And they go, yeah. And he goes, yeah, just call some friends. We got to get a director. We got to get it. And I'm like, I'm going. I'm having a panic attack. Sitting in this office, and so I go, look, holy crap. I called Bill Schultz. Bill Schultz was the features editor at Stuff magazine when I was there, and he was very funny. You know, he's just not a TV, like he's not TV ready. He's more like bar ready all the time. I grab him, and then this other dude, Andy Levy, was leaving me comments on the Huffington Post, my Huffington Post blog. So this is the only time in history where you could get a job from a comment. Like, nobody, like, when you're doing comments on a blog, there's no hope for you, except for one time in the universe, somebody got a job. And so he got a TV gig, so it was Andy and Bill and me, and it was a terrible show for like 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden, we just kept doing it, and it got better, and all of a sudden it became this cult favorite. And we were introducing all kinds of people to the world. Breitbart was on, you were on, people like Andrew WK, Amy Schumer, Crowder, you name it. And it kind of took off, and then they gave me a chance in the 5. Initially on the 5, I was just going to be the fool, which was, do a monologue at the end of the show, and that's it. But I kind of like said, no way, I'm going to talk about everything, and the 5 just took off, and that was amazing. And then I got the other show on Saturdays.
It's a pretty amazing story, and I should say that I actually followed from afar what was going on with you, because I was working with Andrew at the time a little bit, and I was like, yeah, there's this guy Gutfeld, you definitely need to read all his stuff, it's amazing, and I just recommended him for this job, and so it was cool. It's cool hearing the first person story, because I always heard the third person story.
Yeah, it was nuts, and I mean, the stuff, him and I would go back and forth, writing the most outlandish stuff, and it was weird, it was like, it's so strange how you think your career is going to go somewhere, and I always kind of wanted to do TV, but it was because of that. Writing for free at the Huffington Post was what got me a job. And Matt Labash reading a blog called The Black Table with AJ Delario and Will Leach. I don't know if you remember those names, they ended up at Gawker. But that was an interview they did with me that Labash saw, and it's just, I guess what's weird is that none of my prior work experience mattered. It was just writing for free was what did it.
So what shaped your politics? Because obviously people think of you as like the funny guy first, but you have a pretty strong political point of view. So how did you get where you are politically?
I was in high school. I was naturally a liberal. I went to Sarah High School in San Mateo, all boys school, and you could get extra credit for doing certain things in certain classes. And one of them was campaigning for the nuclear freeze. So I was into. I did that. You get signatures for that, and I don't know if anybody remembers that. I think it was Alan Cranston was behind it, but it was to ban like any kind of nuclear arms from California. That's what a typical California thing. You can't transport them. So I would stand in front of church and get signatures. So I was a liberal, and then I got to Berkeley, and I was around real real liberals. But more important, and I know that you understand this because you and I have talked about this, it's not about ideology so much as it is about the mob. And so at Berkeley, I saw the mob. I didn't see one liberal. I saw 1,000. And it's scary when you see a mob. And then I've often said that the mob exists elsewhere. Like, I think we've noticed it in this 2016 election when you felt like there was this overpowering, Trumpist thing. And that kind of made me like whoa. Like if you say something on the internet, you get this swarm. And I realized maybe it was 4 people. That's what me and Dana always talking about. It's like, it really was bots and 4 people. That's what it was. But it's amazing. But so I think my politics are shaped by the mob. If I sense that there's this weird imitation behavior going on, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. I think it freaks out most people, but it just drove me out of the left, and it kind of drove me out of the right into more of a libertarian phase. But you even have a little bit of that in libertarianism. Anywhere, any place that there's a bunch of people who want you to believe in something. But I think I'm more like a Reason magazine type political person.
I think that what you say about most people thinking individually, I wish that were true. I'm going to fight you on that. I think that it's actually what I found more, and this has been the great disappointment to me of my life over the past 5-6 years, is the extent to which people will follow an institution so long as they think the institution is important. That's true whether you're talking about Penn State football or whether you're talking about a political party. People just feel the necessity to defend any institution, especially if they feel the institution is threatened from the outside by another institution. And that's what I think is scary about politics right now.
Yeah, politics is team sport. It really is. And you wear the colors, and if somebody, it's weird. I think the left started this. I'm going to say, I know it's petty, but I think they started it with the old Krauthammer observation, who said that when you're right, you think they're wrong, but the left think you're evil.
No question.
So that's how the Raiders look at the 49ers, and the Mets look at the Yankees. You are evil. You're not just wrong. You are evil. I'll kick your ass. You're outside of the game, and that's happened. People get in massive fights over grown men, millionaires who don't even know you exist. And in a way, that's a lot like politics. These are grown men, millionaires who don't know you exist. But I guess I lost my train of thought here. Where was I going?
About the tribalism.
So the tribalism is something that it's making it so that people can't be friends with each other. And I think that began with the left because it became personal. Like politics is personal among the left. But for conservatives, you have other things going on, right? You go, if you're religious, you have that, and that's actually a larger part of your life. Family, and liberals have families, but it always is, if you're an activist, the personal is political. And so they turn that on. You are evil.
Well, it seems to me that you have to build a sense of community around something. And if you're a religious person, like if you ask me what's my community, my community would probably be the Orthodox Jewish community in which I live, right? Because if, God forbid, I lost all my money tomorrow, the people who I'd be going to for charity are those folks. But if you're on the left, where's the sense of community coming from except from this shared sense of politics?
Yeah. My community is the unicorn community. That's like, I've noticed that people into unicorns are like, they cut across all, like I can have leftists who can't stand me, but they go, he's the unicorn guy. So it's like just a very strange thing with that. But it is true. People want communities. The issue is, though, like, you gotta, like, people are too close to the fire. Whether you're like the never Trumper and the always Trumper can be interchangeable because they're just too close to the fire. The only thing we were talking about Andrew Breitbart, the only way out of that is humor. Is like we talked about, you and I talked about this a while ago on my podcast, that like no matter how Breitbart would feel about Trump, he would find it hilarious.
No question.
And I feel that way about my mother too. My mom probably would have started off with the debates, and she would go, she'd probably call me up because she died 5 years ago, 4 years, and she'd be like, I can't believe what this guy is saying. Did you? And then every day it would become, did you hear what he said? And she'd be chuckling. And that's how I think he worked on a lot of people. It was like, it was just entertaining, and it was funny if you didn't take it seriously. And I think that's the key. People are taking this too seriously. And when you talked about your community, that prevents you from taking it too seriously. Because you have a community that offers you more. And I mean, it's something else. I have to check myself. I'm married, I don't have kids. I could easily just get full bore and think about this crap all the time. I could think about it. I could lie awake in the middle of the night and think about what am I going to say. And I realize it's really important to, like, my wife is not political. She'll just say, stop it. It's it's nothing. It's stupid. She just pokes a hole in it, and then I'm like, you're right. And go out, hang out with people. Go I love music. I do that stuff. But I think the distance from this is really, really important. And that's what my next. I'm already thinking about my next book. It ain't gonna be about politics. I don't know. I might be about the Brady Bunch.
That'd be fun if you're ready. Okay, before we go any further, I first have to talk about your online security. So with all the recent news about online security breaches, it's pretty hard not to worry about where your data is going or where my data is going. Making an online purchase, simply accessing your email, it could put your private information at risk. You are being tracked online by social media sites. Sorry to tell you about this. Marketing companies, your mobile or your internet provider, not only can they record your browsing history, they're often selling it to other corporations who want to profit from your information, which is why everything's free online. That's why I decided to take back my privacy by using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN has easy-to-use apps. They run seamlessly in the background of your computer, your phone, and tablet. Turning on ExpressVPN protection, it only takes one click, and then ExpressVPN secures and anonymizes your internet browsing by encrypting your data, hiding your public IP address. Protecting yourself with ExpressVPN, it costs less than $7 a month. ExpressVPN is indeed rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, if you ever use public Wi-Fi, you want to keep hackers and spies from seeing your data, ExpressVPN is for you. If you don't want to hand over your online history to internet providers or data resellers, ExpressVPN is the answer. Protect that online activity today. Find out how you can get 3 months for free at expressvpn.com/Ben. That's expressvpn.com/Ben for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben to learn more. Okay, so I promised before we sat down that we were going to talk a lot about your book. So now I want to talk a lot about your book. So the opening of this book is about a 35-page essay on what happened to you during the 2016 election. And I read it and I found myself nodding along because I think you and I had very similar experiences. I don't think either one of us actually voted for president. I don't know if you voted for a third party or something.
I was had an absentee ballot, and I wrote Hillary, and I sealed it. And then I walked by one of my friends, Joni, who's one of my producers, but she owned a bar in New York. I trust her implicitly. And she just looked at me. She just gave me a stare, and I walked to the mail box, and I took it back, and I opened up the thing, and I crossed out Hillary's name. And I was like, but I couldn't write Trump's name either. I just couldn't. And I can't remember what I did. I think I might have put in Krauthammer's name, but I don't think I just let, and then I just went down Republican the whole way because in New York it doesn't matter anyway. But I was but what happened to me is that okay, all you could go by with Trump are his during the campaign were words because that's all you got. And so it's like I'm going by his words, and I miscalculated. I think I was a hypocrite, but I'm going by his words, and I'm going okay. This guy's dangerous. I'm tired of defending him. And I'm not going to defend him. I've used the phrase that he's like a 6-hour drive to a half an hour at the beach. It's like, you got to go a long way. And then all of a sudden you get there, and he's just like, he screws up, and he says it crudely or whatever. And so, but once he became president, then you could focus, you don't have to focus on the words anymore. You could focus on the deeds. And it's like, and so when you already know who he is, he won. You already know that he can be an a-hole or say all this stuff, and I just get used to it. And that made it cleared my mind, and I could see what he was doing, and I go, okay, that's pretty good. Like the climate change thing was amazing to me. I've been talking, like pulling out of that accord was like, okay, if that's the only thing he ever did, I'm all right with it because that whole thing pisses me off. I thought it was $100 trillion we were never going to see again. And then you saw other things, like deregulation. There's a lot of the North Korea stuff I find really, really powerful, even though we don't know what's going on. I still thought it was audacious. And true, like Obama always used the phrase audacious. That was audacious. You know, not sneaking the Iran deal. This was audacious. But anyway, so that was how I shifted. And the other thing is I talked about me being a hypocrite was that I was going after him for doing what I do on the 5. And I think he watched a lot of Fox News, and he doesn't give a single F. And he gets up there and he says what he wants. And I'm going like, you know what, if I ran for president, would I change or would I be me? And he was just being himself, and he's cracking jokes, and he's transformed the context from a campaign event or a debate to a roast. And that's when I saw that was like a minor epiphany for me, that I go, okay, he's reworking the rules in the environment. So like I gave him a total crap for the John McCain line. And then I realized that it was a joke, and that it was a joke in its own horrible absurdity. Yeah, you know, heroes don't get caught. You know, it's like that. It's so horrible that it's obviously not true. And that it was a Chris Rock joke from I don't know how long ago. And even I think Trump had said it after Chris Rock years ago. So yeah. So something around there. And so that was like going, okay, now that I had to recalibrate how I look at these things, it became much easier for me. But I wasn't going to explain them. I coined the phrase Trump-splaining during the campaign because I'm going like, I have other options. I don't need to explain this guy. I like Rubio and I like this guy or whatever. But once he became president, I had to start explaining him because he was my president. Two things happened. Two revelations. One, I was talking to Rick Renell, but it was before the show, and I said the same thing I said to you. I go, I don't want a leader that I have to keep explaining. And he goes, well, then why did you run, Greg? And I go, and he goes, no, he goes, I'm serious. He goes, you're going to have to explain everybody. Everybody requires explanation. So that's the price you pay for somebody who's going to win. And I said, well, I would probably do less explaining with like a Marco Rubio. And then I thought, no, that's not true because he's really pro-life. The feminists would have eaten him alive. Like, he would have been as evil as anything. He wouldn't have said the crazy things, but he would have been eaten alive. And the way they treated Mitt over cutting somebody's hair when he was in grade school, the dog on the roof, everybody would be evil. So you'd end up having to explain everybody.
Well, I think this is how the left successfully pushed the right into Trump, is because basically they decided to make Mitt Romney the worst guy in the world. And we looked at Mitt Romney and went, wait, what the hell? Yeah, it's like, fine, we'll actually run the worst guy in the world and then see what you do about it.
That's exactly. I remember you saying that. It's like okay, let's do it. You know, it's like this guy is going to, he's going to be. I call him the orange meteor because he just flies in and just destroys everything. And then I look back and I go like, oh my God, there's so many. I remember this moment. This gets into what happened to me at work as well, which is that question Megyn Kelly asked him when she said, you've been these sexist things, you called women pigs and all this stuff. And I was sitting with my buddy, the police officer, a guy who owns a restaurant in Westside Steakhouse, and the wife who's also a producer. We were all sitting there, and he goes, and Megyn asked that question, and he goes, to be fair, if you don't know Rosie O'Donnell, everybody in the room laughed. Right. Everybody laughed, and I stood and I go, hey, that's a first. I've never seen that. I've never seen it. And then the next day, however, I changed. And I changed because I was around people I really, really like and respect who couldn't stand Trump. And I could see their point of view. And there were people that were like Bible Trumpers. That's a good word. I used to say, by the way. Bible Trumpers. But I didn't care for them. And there was a certain mass of that group where everything he had was incredible, and they were being dishonest. And it was just like they were ruining